Welcome to the People of Nature podcast, a conservation optimism podcast to bring forth the unheard voices. Today we have with us Sneha Dharwadkar. Welcome Sneha to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoy listening to this podcast, and I'm really happy to be here as a guest. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you Sneha for the quick feedback. So let me introduce you Sneha to our audience. Sneha is a wildlife biologist. She is currently pursuing her PhD in comparative biomedical sciences. Her work is multidisciplinary and revolves around ecology, evolutionary biology, conservation education, and computational biology. Sneha has broad experience of working with various non-profit organizations on research, conservation, and educational programs. Some of her work, actually a lot of her work, you will see that in coming interview. But some of her work, as she says, focuses on understanding the role of freshwater turtles in maintaining the ecology of freshwater ecosystems and quantifying the impact of human activities on the turtles and their habitats and the interface of humans and freshwater ecosystems. She is a co-founder of Freshwater Turtles and Tortoises Foundation, FTTF India, works on research, education, community conservation of freshwater turtles and tortoises of India. Her PhD thesis revolves around phylogeography of India's only endemic soft-shell turtle, the Leeds soft-shell turtle, and infectious diseases of freshwater turtles in India. Sneha is deeply passionate about enhancing diversity and fostering equity and inclusion in the field of herpetology. She also works towards increasing participation of women of color in herpetology. So, I guess in our conversation today, the key word is going to be turtle. I can't hide my excitement to get to know more about them. So for our audience, you can write in the comment box how many times you heard turtle in this podcast. The winner might receive some goodies from Sneha.
That's a
So,
good game.
so that's a wonderful, intro, Sneha. And I think we all are excited about knowing about your work, especially with this keyword turtle. So let me begin.
Thank you.
So
Thank you. That was a very nice, fun introduction.
yeah, I mean there are so many things with turtle. So let's try to understand. What you are looking at and what we are thinking, what we are looking at, right?
Yeah.
So let's begin.
Sure.
Okay. So the very first question to you, Sneha, is most of your work has been on herpetofauna, especially turtles. So when and how did your fascination for turtles begin?
I'm from a city where we have a lot of crocodiles.
Okay.
The river Vishwamitri, it's a city of Vadodara. With the Vishwamitri flows through the river, and we have during monsoon the river floods, and the crocodiles enter into people's houses. When I was doing my undergrad, when I was doing my bachelor's, I used to volunteer with a rescue organization, and we used to get rescue calls for snakes and crocodiles, and we've rescued turtles a couple of times. The thing that I realized while doing these rescues is that there's not much information about reptiles, especially
Hmm.
its ecology, distribution, and general education in terms of awareness in people. At least in Baroda, it's good that people call the rescue organizations when there are crocodiles. They're not they're not hostile to these animals, so it worked
Yeah.
in my favor. I was very intrigued by these animals. So while doing undergrad, I decided to do my master's. It
Hmm.
just went on to, I did my master's in AVC College in Tamil Nadu,
Yeah.
and that area is again very very rich for herpetofauna. Lots of like snakes and lizards and frogs and
Hmm.
stuff. So I was always like, it so happened that I was in places where I had a lot of herbs around me, and my interest kept on increasing. And my master's thesis was also on herbs, essentially frogs, basically looking at different species composition in different land use types. Like I compared rubber, secondary forest patches, and tea land use types, and looking at how the species composition varied in these landscape. So it
Yes.
it so happened that I kept working, and the interest kept growing. I got more into reptiles, and eventually I started working with Center for Environment Education. I used to assist Forest Department with rescues of turtles. Mainly these were, caught by people, poachers, they were confiscated from poachers. And again, the same thing, we didn't know about what to do with them. There was very little information. A lot of information about turtles are from zoos, especially about Indian turtles. There aren't too many studies. Actually, it's changing now. There are many
Right.
researchers, many of us who are working on freshwater turtles. But
Mhm.
most of the information that we had was on marine turtles, thanks to a lot of work by Madras Crocodile Bank Trust, Dakshin Foundation. These people like ANET, and these people really worked well on sea turtles. There has been quite a good amount of work on sea turtles, but there wasn't anything on freshwater turtles. And it so happened that eventually I started my own organization along with Anuja Mittal. She's also a turtle biologist, and like interest kept growing, and I kept. I mean, you know how they say in Hindi, um, "Hum chalte rahe, karwa banta gaya." That kind of things. We just kept going,
Yeah.
and it kept um, building more
Okay.
and more.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So that was a wonderful story, and now we know that there is a fundamental cost to your liking towards turtles, and we see that you have spent a considerable amount of time doing field work, particularly on turtles. So, are there any interesting field anecdotes you would like to share with us?
I actually well, not recently, but a couple of years ago, when I was in Kaveri working on turtles, the fisher people use this coracles. It's a round boat, and it takes a bit of skill to row that boat. It's circular in shape, so it's not something we intuitively associate with a boat, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
this is a very convenient mode of transport for fishing people. So we were going in a coracle for surveys of Leith's softshell turtle, and I was scanning the area for presence of turtles, because we were doing visual encounter surveys. And I suddenly noticed that at about 4 meters there was a huge crocodile following us.
Oh.
None of us realized, because crocodiles are very, very silent swimmers. When they swim, there are no ripples on the water. And
Mhm.
usually, if they are behind you, you will not realize, because they're stealthy predators. They are ambush predators. So, but what I learned is that these crocodiles follow these boats because a lot of these boats are used by fishing people, and they
Mhm.
follow the fisher people to eat their fish.
Oh, I
So
see.
this like huge, this must be about like 8 to 10 feet crocodile. It was following us in the hopes of finding some fish from us. It was
Wow.
for me. It was like I was very excited to see that crocodile, and I kind of like screamed in excitement that look, there is a crocodile. But the boatman and I had a forest watcher with me. They were quite alarmed at that. And the
I
crocodile
see. I
sunk
see.
inside the water when it heard me, or when it realized that we've noticed it. We
Mhm.
didn't There was not a single ripple on the water. It just went in. We had no idea where
Oh,
it went, how it went. It was so silent.
I,
But in my memory, I can still see the crocodile's eyes, and like so close, the snout so close to my boat. And we were I was very excited. On In the hindsight, I know that it's not, they're not harmful. They don't attack humans like this. But it's an interesting correlation. It's an interesting human animal interaction, that a crocodile follows a coracle because it wants fish.
wow, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, that was very exciting for me. Yeah,
Great, great.
they're very smart. smart animals, these crocodiles. They're very, very
Yeah.
intelligent. They know, um, they know how to associate these things with, like, they associate coracles and fish and fisher people, so they follow them in the hopes of fish. For fishing people, it's not good because a lot of times these crocodiles tear open their nets, and they're not
Right.
fishing people are not allowed to have stronger nets. So
Yes.
that's unfortunate part. But for me it was like behavioral, croc behavior experience, where I get to understand how really smart these animals are.
Wow,
So
amazing,
yeah, that
amazing.
was yeah,
I
that
can
was really
also imagine.
exciting for me. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. So, according to your observations, what are the biggest threats turtles face today in their wetland habitats?
I think for freshwater, and I'm exclusively speaking about freshwater turtles and tortoises. I don't feel comfortable enough to discuss about marine turtles. But in
Mhm.
freshwater turtles, the biggest threat, in my opinion, is alteration in their habitat or loss of habitat. So the rivers are dammed, a lot of wetlands are being filled for construction work, and these kind of habitat alterations and habitat loss bring on their own problems. It causes overcrowding in the wetlands that are already existing, that
Right.
that then brings diseases. So it's like a chain reaction, that they lose their habitat, there is overcrowding, they have to walk extensively for finding you know roosting habitats, resting nesting habitats and such. So it brings on additional health issues related to that. It brings on additional human wildlife interactions, where people see turtles more often than they should.
Yeah.
So it's like a chain reaction, it's connected to each other. And then second is that the threat of invasive species. A lot of people in India, um, for whatever reason, they release the invasive red-eared sliders in the water bodies here. They're not native. These are turtles from North America, and they have
Yeah.
become invasive in many countries globally. And in India is no different. We have a lot of red-eared sliders in many urban water bodies released by people, out of, sometimes out of goodness of their heart, thinking that they are rescuing the turtle, they are freeing them from from the bound life. But it
Yeah.
eventually causes distress to the native turtles. Red-eared sliders are voracious feeders. They compete very, very well with our native turtles and usually come on top. So there hasn't
Mhm.
been very detailed study on red-eared sliders in India, but there are studies outside that show that that they compete with native
Okay.
turtles. They bring diseases, which is
I see.
diseases, parasites. So I think there is a need to study that here, and in my opinion, this is something that we should really look at. And from FTTI, we are doing that. Our past three turtle spotting weeks have focused on red-eared slider. We are in the process of releasing a manual on red-eared slider so that people could, people can understand how to care for them, how not to release them in wild. If they have issue with their pet turtle, then who to go to.
Right.
And
Right.
there are a lot of things that, you know like I said, it's a chain reaction. One thing always leads to other, and we
Yeah.
often don't have a way to predict how that one single action is going to bring a cascading effect of other consequences.
True.
So
Yeah. I
yeah, I
mean,
would say these are the
yeah,
yeah.
it's a pretty complicated, threats that you just mentioned about. It's not
Yeah,
like one
it's a
thing.
complicated issue. Right, right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and
So,
as you also very well know, in ecology, it's hard to simplify stuff, and sometimes it's difficult to show people how one single action can actually cause a great damage to turtles.
correct, correct. Yeah. So, I mean, this from a scientific point of view, I think we all perhaps would understand that how these invasive species or how the water pollution or changing their habitats might threaten the turtle population, native turtle population. But how does the general
Yeah.
public get involved in the conservation of wetlands and river habitats of turtles?
So what I'm going to say might be a little controversial, but I would say that general people could really, really make a difference by voting
Mhm.
wisely, getting involved in. It's. I know it sounds a little, that oh, how does it directly affect turtles? But the thing is, a lot of these policies of wetland protection, um, which is very, very important for turtles, these are brought about or removed by people who are in
Right,
positions of power. And if even if the general
right,
public does not know how to work on the ecology of turtles, they have a power to make a difference this way. So this is one thing that, in
correct.
my
Yes,
opinion, it's a very, very valuable contribution a person could make. I would
right,
urge people to go vote and vote sensibly. And
right.
I would also like urge people to get acquainted with what are the local laws, what can you do to
Mm.
protect this wetland. Sometimes,
Yeah,
for environmental protection, a lot of
mhm.
industries before executing their projects, they have to hold public meetings, and their advertisements are given in newspapers or other media channels. So
Yeah,
people, if they can attend and give their opinions, it would make a lot of difference, because wetlands are like,
yes,
in my opinion, lakes and wetlands are, they are under threat. And if you protect a habitat, you automatically protect the residents in it. And this goes for all the wetland residents. It goes for dragonflies, it goes for aquatic macroinvertebrates, it goes for all, like,
yes,
aquatic vegetation. So you protect a wetland, you are
yes.
going to protect the species in it.
True,
And then
true. Yeah.
secondly, if you see somebody, like, if like there is a matter of temper turtles or community pond turtles.
Mhm,
I bring this up
mhm,
because I see people feeding these kind of. I see a lot of
mhm.
people feeding these kind of, temple turtles, community pond turtles with this puffed rice or dough and rice, and this is not healthy for turtles. So I would suggest that you don't feed them this. There comes a question of, oh, but then there is not enough food for the turtles. Then what do you do? Then you work with the authorities who are responsible for managing this wetland. Give that, like, make sure that they get enough basking space. They have fish to eat instead of, puffed rice and stuff. So people
Yeah.
people do have a lot of power in their hand. They don't realize. Some of
Mhm.
them do, but it's something that, like, it's difficult to put two and two together. So this is something that they can, think about. And
So they
um,
need to be aware of they need to be aware of the local policies. They need to be aware of all these little things they can do to conserve the wetlands. I think that's what
yes,
you're
yes,
trying to.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. In my
See, in
opinion, that is the. I was just saying that this is the biggest power people have, and I think they should
yes,
use it. I think they should make sure that they use that power that they have.
true, true. So I completely agree with you on this point. And in fact, my next question is in relation with what we are saying. So you have been very active in citizen science projects, being the co-founder
Yes.
of freshwater turtles and tortoises in India. So how do you envision the role of citizen science in conservation of biodiversity, and what can be done to improve the quality of submissions when field identification of turtles can get tricky?
True, very true. To answer the first question, I think citizen science, in my opinion, is another powerful tool because it helps you document, and anybody can do it. Anybody who has a little bit of inclination towards nature can go out, take a picture, upload it on the citizen science portal, and then experts who can ID these things can help them identification with their identification. So citizen science has been proven to be very powerful tools when some kind of areas have been proposed to be developed, forests have proposed to be cleared. If there are no scientific studies, even if citizen science has been active in that area,
Mhm.
these kind of documentations have really helped to prove that, look, this area is full of biodiversity.
Right.
You cannot do your construction project here. So,
Yes.
in my opinion, citizen science projects are very powerful. And when it comes to identification, we run our project on India Biodiversity Portal.
Mhm.
Anuja and I both are moderators, along with Hari Krishnan, who is another herpetologist. And
Okay.
what we do is we help in identification of turtles. I know that field identification can sometimes be tricky, but you can easily go up to at least genus level. So
Yes.
we only have like 30 species of turtles in India, turtles and tortoises. It's if people put their effort in it, they can easily learn all the like general genus characteristics. And even if they can't, I understand that not everybody is not everybody wants to learn about turtles. There's so many things.
Yeah.
They can just take a picture and upload it online, and we can help them identify.
Right.
There are the apps also based on the features and image recognition. They also suggest a species ID. Even if they
Okay.
get it wrong, it's okay. It's okay if they get it wrong. We can get them to the right ID.
Yeah.
And it's basically not required for you to like really know each and every species, not only of turtles but of anything. We are there to help identify. We are there to suggest IDs, and we
Mhm.
are here to help with anything that people need when it comes to citizen science in relation to freshwater turtles and tortoises. So I
Good.
think that is what I would say about that.
Mhm. So, I mean, that's pretty interesting that you're working on like making, I guess, turtles popular, so that more and more people participate in documenting them, and eventually we have a good database created which can be eventually used for conservation purpose.
Yes.
So, so what I feel is in India today, mammals and birds, they are the ones which get most of the conservation attention and research funding as well as public attention than herpetofauna. So, in your opinion, how can herpetologists make reptiles and amphibians more visible to the public and researchers?
I think the general understanding of herpetofauna is changing now.
Mhm.
When it comes to public attention, I think education really makes a lot of difference. Citizen science projects have definitely helped because we have realized that the more content we put out in relation to freshwater turtles, we realized that people are actually interested. They just didn't know how to participate. So what happened is in 2016 we started our freshwater turtles and tortoises of India project on India Biodiversity Portal.
Mhm.
And the engagement was generally low because people didn't know about this. But in 2019 we started our social media channels for our freshwater turtle content, and we used to regularly put out information such as how to identify this turtle, how to identify that turtle, what
Okay.
how do you differentiate between a marine turtle and a freshwater turtle, how to differentiate between turtle and a tortoise. And all
Mhm.
this was very well received, and we realized that basically people are interested. And with turtles it's easier because people who go for birding in wetlands, they see turtles and they are like, generally nature people are interested in
Yeah.
many things. So this general education outreach posts were very well received, and we realized that the more we do it, the more people get engaged. And I think now we have a very good user community of people who are very interested in turtles. So for us, we actually found our kind of group. We found our like-minded people who also like turtles and who like to engage in documenting turtles with us. For
Okay.
me, I really found a lot of really good people who eventually I collaborated for my lead soft shell turtle work, and I'm very indebted to them for their support to me.
Mhm.
Kenneth Anderson Nature Society is one, Eco Foundation is one, and it
Okay.
all happened because we used to put out outreach content, and somehow they found it and they interacted with it, and we became like one group, one team that works on turtles. So I'm really grateful that people are engaging. I think things are changing now because a lot of people are putting out outreach content on herpetofauna, and
Mhm.
hopefully it only goes in more positive direction. Right now
Yeah.
we are just starting, and I think the more we engage with people, I think we will get better in this.
Correct. So you have also worked on outreach and nature education with CWS and CE earlier. So can you elaborate
Yes.
on the and your take on importance of the nature education today?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, when I joined Center for Environment Education (CEE), that was after I
Mhm.
was a junior research fellow with Geer
Okay.
Foundation, and
Okay.
I wasn't very aware of how education works. EE,
Mhm.
environment education, it's a very crucial part. But at that time, I was a naive researcher who thought,
Okay.
yes, we need basic research, we need primary research, and education, in my opinion, was just a secondary thing. But when I
Mhm.
joined CEE, I actually went through a lot of intense training on education, how to engage different age groups, how to engage different kinds of audience. I used to
Mhm.
work in protected area interpretation and education. So my work was building interpretation centers, which are like museums
Okay.
for
Okay.
different protected areas. And that meant researching a lot of things, not just its fauna, but
Mhm.
flora and the people in the protected area. Because protected area is not just, if you say a tiger reserve, it's not just tigers, it's a lot
Mhm.
of things.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that gave me a lot of, that gave me a perspective that I never had before. I really understood the importance of education. How people engaged with this content really changed how they thought. A lot of students I have taught, they still
Okay.
keep in touch, and I'm very, very, I think even more than the research papers in my heart, that holds a lot of value. When
Uh,
people come back to me and say that I learned this because of you, and I'm engaging, I'm in this field because of you, it really, really makes a lot of difference to me. And I
yeah.
had not seen this side of um, education. I had not experienced this before, and it really changed my world. Center for Environment Education taught me a lot of things. I worked in a really large office. I worked in their main office. I was able to interact with people
Mhm.
from various disciplines. There were people who were writers. There were people who were artists. There were people who were from humanities background, and they all came together for education, environment education, conservation
Right.
education. And that gave me an added respect to how multidisciplinary our field is. It's not
Uh,
just it's not just ecology, it's not just evolutionary biology, but a lot of streams come together to eventually make a product that people engage with, people can see and learn from. I say that I'm a better educator because I'm a researcher, but I'm a better researcher because I'm an educator. So
okay.
yeah, it's like that for me. I think education, conservation education, holds a lot of value. It makes a huge difference. I think we can really move forward in conservation if we really dedicatedly focus on education. I think your podcast is one such mean. You're reaching out to a lot of people who may not necessarily be in wildlife, but they would like to listen to people, and
Yeah.
hopefully, maybe it will give them some kind of insight that they didn't have before, and that really helps. Like I said before, I learned a lot from your podcast with Arunima, and I think
Oh,
it was wonderful. She's a wonderful speaker, and her work is great. I think it makes a lot of difference when it comes to education to people.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Sneha, you're correct, and thanks for those beautiful words again for our podcast. So, moving on to the next question, and I think this is a question which we all would like to know more about, is
Yeah.
that PhD is in the comparative biomedical sciences. So, can you briefly
Yes.
tell us what your PhD research is and how has been your experience of working in a US university so far?
Right. So when I went to the US in 2021, I actually joined a different university under a different advisor.
Okay,
But it didn't, it focused on integrative biology. And in 2 years, my goal, my direction of work changed. I wanted
okay,
to do something different. I found a better mentor after that. And I
hmm,
changed my stream from integrative biology to comparative medical sciences.
okay,
And my current advisor, Dr. Mikla Sundaram, is also from India. And
hmm,
my research focuses mainly on freshwater turtles, diseases of freshwater turtles. Ours is a disease ecology lab.
I see.
And
Okay,
eventually, after working in India on turtles and looking at issues, I was really interested in turtle diseases. So what I
hmm,
currently do is I use machine learning. I use
hmm,
machine learning techniques in predictive like disease modeling.
okay,
So a lot of my work is very methods related. I use machine learning approach in modeling infectious diseases, not only just turtles but also other like humans as well.
yeah,
And a part of it is also focused on phylogeography of leads softshell turtle. So looking at geographic
okay,
variation in the
hmm,
turtle, we see that turtle in 7 different states in India, and
hmm,
how much variation there is between populations.
okay,
And basically, if I can sum up my PhD work, it's very methods focused.
hmm,
The If you look at the topics, they all seem very disconnected with each other, but for me, I focus on like bringing different methods together to bring out one output.
I see. Okay. Great. I mean, that was something new for us, I guess, because a PhD in comparative biomedical sciences, someone would start thinking about humans only. But now you're bringing from from perspective from the wildlife, and we all know that how COVID basically, created a havoc, being a
Yes.
zoonotic disease. So I think this is very fantastic. This is amazing new work, unique work that you have been doing, and I guess
Yes.
will definitely shed some more light on what's happening with the parasites of turtle and the disease ecology
Yes,
because
I hope to. I hope to bring more information about turtle disease ecology and parasites, and especially in India, it's not studied much. So I'm currently in India, but I'm still doing my PhD.
uh,
My advisor has been very generous with me to come here and work, do my field work. So I'm
mhm,
very I consider myself very privileged to be able to have such kind of facility, because I am currently in a university that's very good for veterinary sciences. I'm in the Department of Infectious Diseases, College of Veterinary Medicine. So I get a lot of exposure to these aspects, and I have learned over the last 1.5 years. I've learned a lot.
mhm,
I have really expanded my skill set in not just modeling, but understanding how deeply intertwined a lot of disciplines are. So
that's
it has been really great for me. I really appreciate like all that I've learned so far.
great.
And regarding your question about the experience of working in the US university,
Mhm,
um, I I actually don't have experience of working for PhD in an Indian university, so the comparison would be. I don't think I'll be able to compare.
okay.
But if I compare my master's experience with my PhD experience, I think your advisor makes a lot of difference. How
Mhm.
supportive your advisor is and how involved your advisor is in your work, I think it makes a lot of difference. And I believe that's true for Indian universities or European university or other any other university. I
Mhm.
think a lot of your progress will depend on how good your mentor is and um, in like how your environment is. Are you with people who are equally, motivated, driven? I am in a university. My cohort is very focused on the research. They are very driven by their research, so I see others working and it motivates me to work.
Right.
So it's good in a way, and I think that is what makes a lot of difference.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, they always say that a kind advisor is always good than a high impact factor advisor.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that sums it up.
True.
So, amazing discussion so far, Sneha. So, my next question to you is about your career trajectory. So,
Yeah.
it has been a very fascinating journey you have done so far. So, what was the career highlight in your journey so far?
I think for me, it has just been that I have tried a lot of different things and it has built my profile in a way that I really like what I do.
Mhm.
I jumped from research to conservation education because I saw an opportunity in it. And then now, if I see from ecology, I moved to evolutionary biology. My phylogeography is more into evolutionary biology stuff, and
Mhm.
now I do disease and artificial like machine learning and deep learning methods in like big data analysis kind of stuff. I've
Yeah.
always done new things. I've not stuck to one thing and like rolled with it. I like
Mhm.
trying new things. I like learning different things, and it really for me it keeps me alive. If I have to, I mean, I know a lot of people like to stay safe in what they do, and more
Yeah.
power to them. But for me, I get like I need some kind of like new things to keep
Mhm.
learning and keep working at. Otherwise, it just gets really boring for me. And all these experiences I have had, like working in research, then education, um, in like not like conservation efforts, it's kept me really,
Mhm.
it kept me alive. I would say it's really helped me keep working at what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's each day is a new day for you, and so many new
Yes.
things you're looking
Yes,
forward to. Great.
for sure,
So
for sure.
amazing conversation so far, Sneha. So this is the last question I'm heading towards now, and I
Yeah.
think uh, since even in your bio we mentioned that you are very aware and you are also fighting for the rights of the women of color in the herpetology field. So, what are the gender based challenges you have faced during working in the conservation field? And finally, what is going to be your message to our eco oriented audience, particularly youngsters getting into conservation?
Yeah, good question actually, and a question that is very dear to my heart. I, in the in my work experience that I've worked, I have faced a lot of challenges being
Mhm.
a woman in the field. A lot of times, the facilities allotted are not the same for us, and the way people treat us is different. A lot of times I've been in a workshop that I have been the facilitator, I've been the educator,
Okay.
and there is a man next to me who is an assistant. And I'm not saying that he is of low status or whatever, but the people will direct their questions at a man because they
Oh,
refuse to see you as an authority. It's
mhm.
very similar for like how interacting with forest department has been in a lot of ways, not especially in North India.
Uh-huh.
My experiences have being like fighting for getting basic necessities such as toilets in the field, getting facilities such as protection, basic protection. You don't want to work in a field where you are always worried for your safety. You're always worried about what's going to happen to you.
Right.
Um, in general, that has really bothered me, because why should I be judged based on my gender when
Correct.
others don't get, men are not based, like, if I am speaking authoritatively, I am called names, I'm called
Mm,
rude, I'm called arrogant, but the same thing will be said by a man, and that will be accepted as, oh, he is so well versed in this field, he knows everything about it. The treatment is different, and it has really
right.
bothered me. Why should that be a case? I should not be defined by my gender, I should be defined by my work.
Right. Yeah.
I should be defined by what I do, what I bring to the table, and what can I do. I have gotten a question in an interview, so when are
Mhm.
you going to, like, when are you going to start a family? And I was very confused, because how is that relevant to what I do? So it's like, I already have a family. I have my parents, I have my sister, I have my dogs, and my cat. I don't understand what do you mean by start a family. I already have a family. Um, and then he was like, no, no, but you know what I mean. Like, no, I don't know what you mean. So, these kind of questions men don't get. I
Right.
very much doubt that you got a question, when are you going to start your family?
Never.
Yeah. And these questions are really annoying, because I like, why should I be asked that question? No, and then
Yeah.
they justify that it's because women then get pregnant and leave. I mean,
Come.
isn't that like a society issue? Like, it's like women are getting pregnant because men also want them to.
Right.
And it's a general decision that people take, and that shouldn't, like, their personal choices should not affect their career.
Yeah. Yes.
And like, I'm sure pregnant women and women with children are also treated differently. um,
Yeah.
and it really annoys me that people judge you based on your, not based on what you bring to the table, not based on your
Mhm.
skills, but your gender. So
Right.
for me, this fight is very, very, done from heart. It's,
Mhm.
I want a world where we will be treated equally, and I see younger people, younger PIs are very much aware of these issues, and they're a lot more supportive as compared to what I saw 10, 15 years ago when I entered the field. So I'm really grateful that this change has been gradually happening, and
Mhm.
hopefully it will be even more in coming few years.
Yeah. Let's be hopeful. Let's be positive about that.
Yeah. And when it comes to what message I would give to younger people wanting to enter into this field,
Yeah.
it's a very tough question for me, because I entered this field by chance. I wanted to become a psychiatrist. It didn't
Okay.
work out, and I enrolled myself in environmental science just because I like nature, out of no other desire, just the sheer
Yeah.
fact that I like nature. And then I really got into it, and I really, really enjoyed it. So it's a tough question. I would say that if you are in this field, sometimes things get hard,
Mhm.
but don't lose hope. There are good people. Find your support, find your community, find the people who you like working with. That will make a lot of difference. Who
Yeah.
you are engaged with, who you are working with, who you are collaborating with, really makes a lot of difference. So find your community, find your people. That will make a lot of difference. Yeah, so about the message to young people, I would say that find your community, find your support system. In this field, you're going to really need it,
Yeah.
because things can get tough, and sometimes it can be an uphill battle. But the kind of support you build around yourself, the kind of community you build around yourself, will be the one that will carry you.
Mhm.
So in my opinion, finding your group, finding your community is really important. And that's what I would say to people who are entering in this field. Find good people who are, you know, who are good at heart, who are kind, and who will really support you for what you are doing, and who will cheer you for your successes and support you for your losses. So that's what I would say to people who are entering in this field.
Thank you, Sneha. That was a wonderful discussion so far, and it was indeed an insightful discussion. I would say a lot of things we talked about turtles and tortoises of India, and you
Yeah.
have given us new insights about just as turtles, the diseases of the turtles, the kind of threats they have, the kind of
Yeah.
citizen involvement in turtle conservation, and so on. And of course, I'm saying turtle and turtle again because there is a game that we had in the beginning. So you have to find out the keyword that we used.
Many times. Yes.
So it was great conversation, and especially I liked about your opinion that you mentioned about how the women are treated differently in the conservation field, and how challenging it might be for a woman to be out and do conservation action versus
Yes.
for a male. So
Yes.
I definitely acknowledge that, and I think as a society we need to really act towards this positively, and we need to create a society wherein each individual based on the merit has equal chance of working in the field.
Yes. Yes.
So thank you once again, Sneha, for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I enjoyed our talk. I enjoyed our chat, and I really appreciate you inviting me here. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Sneha.